Please rewind this cassette.
Hey, so apparently we're supposed to be mad that Barbie didn't get nominated for Best Director and Best Actress at the Academy Awards, even though it was still nominated for 8 Oscars, and it made like 1.5 billion worldwide. So I think they did okay. I think everyone's pretty satisfied, but whatever. We're supposed to be upset about this. Now, this is your typical online overreaction, and reacting to overreactions is like a double overreaction. So I'm not really helping anything by talking about this. Like, nobody really gives a shit. It's like fake outrage. This happens with everything. It'll be a controversy in the sense that like 10 people complain about it. Then a couple famous people say something like, I don't know, a Hillary Clinton or something. And then everybody acts like it's a big deal, when in reality, most people don't care. But this one's a particular one. This one's very curious because it's been playing into an issue that I think has come about recently with, I don't know how to say this without it coming off really racist, so I'll try to say it as gently as possible. White women complaining about not getting everything. White feminism, which if you don't know what that is, that's a term that's used for feminism that only matters when it involves privileged white women, and then you ignore all other types of women and races and cultures over the world that get affected by sexism and patriarchy. It only matters when a white girl who is doing very well is attacked. A recent example would be Taylor Swift with her AI images. People have been complaining about this for a long time, but then as soon as Taylor Swift has an issue with it, the White House addresses the issue. That's odd. That's odd that this billionaire white woman is the one that needs to, be the one that stands up to AI. It's a little odd that it's not someone else, don't you think? Well, Barbie is a similar thing. Greta Gerwig, her self insert, Margot Robbie in the film, a self insert for a lot of white women. You know how there's literally me characters or incel movies like Drive or American Psycho? Greta Gerwig makes those for chicks. So that's what's unique and quirky about her, I guess, is that she just makes white women movies. Honestly, I like Greta Gerwig. I like her movies for the most part. I actually like Barbie quite a bit until the third act, which I think is a disaster. But having said all that, right? Whether you like the movie, whether you don't like the movie, whether you think it's woke, whether you think that it's just a comedy and nobody gives a shit, it's fluffy, who cares about the Oscar nominations aspect? Like, who gives a damn? What does it matter? Do we like hold the Oscars to some sort of standard now? Like, it means something? Does everybody think that, like, Nomadland was the best movie the year it came out? Has anyone seen that movie? Like, who cares? Coda, remember that movie, the Apple TV Plus one? Who's seen that movie? I've seen that movie, but I don't think most people have. And it just doesn't matter anyway. They've done this for years. Go back to the 90s and all the controversial Best Picture winners. Or even back in the 80s, you have movies like Chariots of Fire. Everyone gets mad about this. Scorsese lost Best Director for Raging Bull to Ordinary People. It's just how it's always been. And honestly, it's part of the fun of the Oscars. I like that they're pretentious and just pick artsy films or biopics or dramatic films over comedies or mainstream blockbusters. That's just how this shit rolls. And if they changed it, it wouldn't be the Oscars anymore. It would just be the People's Choice Awards with the gold trophy. You gotta realize that there's a balance between these things. But to get to the point, right? Apparently, Barbie not getting nominated is several things. It's what the movie was about, a world where women have to struggle to get what men have. Then Ken gets a supporting acting nomination, but Margot doesn't for her brilliant performance. So, see, life is reflecting the movie, is what they're saying. Or there was enough actresses that filled up the categories that somebody had to get knocked out and it was Margot Robbie or Greta Gerwig. I mean, you could take some of the nominees out. Honestly, like, I don't really care who's nominated for director. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, it seems obvious Christopher Nolan's going to win for Oppenheimer, so I don't even know if the nomination matters at this point. Like, it's just like, hey, I got nominated, but I'm not going to win. And I doubt Greta's sitting at home worried about it with Noah Baumbach as she's putting the strap on to penetrate him with, but who knows? But yes, Hillary Clinton did have to tweet about it, and she somehow found a way to compare it to the 2016 election where she won the popular vote. She says something like, you may win the box office, but you don't get the gold in the end. Like, come on, Hillary. Okay. Here's a picture of this future Oscar winner. I love it. I love it so much. But the reason this annoys a lot of people, and rightfully so, I mean, I'm glad that there's been a reckoning for white feminism and white women in general. You've had it coming a long time. As a white guy, I've been having to take a lot of flack for things the last decade, and I think it's only fair that it's your turn. I'm sorry, that's the rules. Maybe one day, we'll be able to team up, but for right now, where does that begin, right? Well, the criticism is America Ferrera got nominated for Barbie, who she is not a white person. A lot of the people that were nominated, including Lily Gladstone, are natives or part of the black community. So there's been a lot of diversity in the nominations, and there's reason to celebrate that. I have no problem with people being happy when people that normally don't get recognized in film are being celebrated. But when you don't recognize the two blonde white women, all of a sudden it's a snub and it's controversial and it's an issue and we have to talk about it. But why do we have to talk about it? Why does it matter? It's just silly. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to complain about it. It's embarrassing to ignore all context. Ryan Gosling had to come out and apologize for his nomination. I feel so bad that I got nominated for my breakout performance that everybody loves so much. It kind of stole the movie, but there's no Ken without Barbie, and there's no Barbie without Greta. I'm sick of them talking about this movie like they invented these characters, like when Judd Apatow's tweeting it. These aren't original characters. Greta Gerwig didn't invent Barbie. She didn't invent Ken. And by the way, the movie, when you see it, so many of the references in the film or the things the film are about are directly tied to Barbie as an IP and our relationship with it culturally. So quit acting like they wrote some original movie and just put a Barbie stamp on it. It's a film that wouldn't work if it didn't have the context of being a Barbie movie. That's the key factor here. And I know, right? They've always underrated comedy performances. They've always underrated mainstream movies. Dark Knight didn't get a Best Picture nomination, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, though, look at the nominations this year. They did nominate big movies. They did give a comedy performance a nomination. Ryan Gosling's Ken performance is a comedy performance. It's in supporting actor, but hey, he's funny in that movie. He's just a goofball. Why can't we celebrate these things? Why does it always have to be this 2016 version of feminism where the patriarchy is holding white women back? If the patriarchy was holding white women back, then how did Barbie make $1 billion? Doesn't that not make any sense? Now, I don't mind the initial response of people being upset with the so called snubs for Barbie, but what was really entertaining was the initial reaction from Swiftian like people who were, rambling and upset about it, and then people attacking them in response for pointing out, like, if you really think this is an issue, if you really think this is an attack on women, if you think this is an indictment on the industry, you really don't know what you're talking about. And that makes me so happy. It warms my heart so much. Because I just remember a few years ago that everybody would jump on every bandwagon with controversies like this. If you said you disliked Ghostbusters back in 2016, you were immediately labeled a sexist, and everybody jumped on you despite the movie being a failure. If you criticized any of the characters and franchises that happened to be female, there was a problem. But now you have a female film that was completely successful, universally like a popular film all over the world, and it doesn't get a couple gold trophy nominations. And then this is the biggest issue in the world. Not climate change. Fuck that. Hillary doesn't need to tweet about that. You know, not the wars going on in the world right now, not the economy. No, it's these rich people not getting gold trophy nominations. That's what matters. And this shows the disconnect between film Twitter, Hollywood, and the masses, and why I think movie theaters are declining, why I think film is part of our like cultural touchstone and conversation in society is falling. Because everyone's sick of this. Everyone's sick of the hubris. Like, it's not fun to see somebody who's gorgeous like Margot Robbie and so successful and had the best year ever, and I'm supposed to feel bad for her that she didn't get a trophy nomination for a movie. The Academy Awards never mattered. It was always like a glorified like popularity contest. That's all it ever was. It's a relationship business in LA. You pay your dues, and then eventually they give you this little trophy. It's like the watch you get when you retire from a company you've worked at for 40 years. It's the same thing. It's condescending, but it's at least something you can put on a shelf and be like, hey, look, I got that. I'm doing pretty well, honestly. And don't worry, Greta will get one eventually, like Nolan. She'll be like 60 years old and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you made this amazing film about, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Here's an Oscar." And the thing I don't get about the women particular who get mad about this, because I'm not even gonna bring up like the simps and white knights who jump in this thing. Did you care about this stuff before? I question. Did you care about the Oscar nominations, or do you just care about it in relation to Barbie? Did you care about controversies with other things until it involved someone that you relate to? To summarize, though, right, to get to the point, outrage culture, right? So it becomes a controversy, even though it's not really a controversy. Then everybody talks about it like it's a huge controversy. And then by the time we're going to get to the Oscars, Jimmy Kimmel's going to make really terrible jokes about this. I mean, let's play out the Jimmy Kimmel Academy Award monologue jokes, all right? Hey, Barbie's a movie that talks about women and how they're treated in society, and we're celebrating it here by not nominating the two women responsible for the film. Donald Trump. Wow, we've had a lot of successful movies here, but let's just say Oppenheimer wasn't the only movie here about bombing, huh? Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel and I'm gay. But yeah, so everyone's panties are wet because yeah, so everyone's on their period now because of this snub for Barbie. And I don't know, it's just entertaining. It's like when you get a little bit older. I'm an old man now, and you just see the cycles of these things. You're like, okay, we're in this phase now. We're in the phase where people are starting to notice that white women also have privilege and a biased view of the world, and only complain about things typically or care about things if it directly relates to them, which is wonderful. I love it so much. It's so much fun to watch and see broke down, and oh, they're so mad. It's great. At the end of the day, though, it's just a movie. That's what people always say, right? Go touch grass. If you go touch grass, then everything will be okay. You just need to put your hands on that grass, and then all of those online arguments you're getting into will just fade into nothingness. Well, I went and touched grass earlier, and I'm still totally thinking about a Reddit argument I got in last night about a basketball game, so apparently it does not work. But that's what I would say to all the fans out there that are upset with the nominations, are upset that these women weren't recognized. I get it. I understand. I've been there before. I'm not going to tell you to go touch grass because that doesn't do anything. I would just say, watch the movie, buy the Blu ray, celebrate it, make video essays, carry the flame. You don't need the golden idol to validate how you feel about something or what something means to you. But in a materialistic society, in a society that's all about gotchas and all about headlines and all about attention seeking, it's a lot easier to make everything about what's wrong to get yourself noticed as opposed to talking about good things that you like or good things that come out of this, like the highest grossing movie ever directed by a woman. And look at it that way.